Sometimes things just don't quite go the way that they're supposed to. Ooh. Every job that you do, you've got your normal procedures, the way things are supposed to happen. But, sometimes things just go wrong, and you almost kind of wish you could be like a Cyberman and delete them. Needless to say, in 10 years of working at the parks, there were a number of times that I saw things not quite go the way they were supposed to, and things happen, and sometimes you're just kind of stuck trying to figure out what to do to fix it. A good example of this is when somebody forgets who they are. The Chipmunks at Walt Disney World are an example of a little bit of confusion. Of course, they're ridiculous, they're hyper, they bounce all over the place, but people love to get their autographs along with the other characters. I saw a couple times where Dale forgot who he was. They came up with their autograph and Dale signed his Chip. How do you fix that? The one time that Dale did it was actually in an autograph book. At that point, Chip hadn't signed yet, so it wasn't a big deal. Dale signed his Chip, Chip signed his Dale, and they handed the book back, and nobody knew. But there was one time that they were signing a poster. Chip had already signed, and Dale, right under Chip, wrote Chip. Again. So it said Chip and Chip. And then the other problem with this poster was they already had other autographs on it. So they couldn't just switch it out or change it or something. And Dale is just standing there realizing what he just did and going, how do you cover? Well, of course, Dale's a little bit of a dingbat. He's not quite all there. He's also a prankster. And so, hey, you know what? Dale, were you trying to pull a funny on there? But when you have characters that are very similar, sometimes they kind of forget who they are. And then there's the accidents. You may know who Paige Turner is. She's one of the citizens of Hollywood, or was, till they changed all that. Paige was on the streets quite a lot when I was working at Hollywood Studios, and was just a riot. They're all hilariously funny. But she had one time when I was a photographer, and I was taking pictures, and she got a hold of a jump rope from the people that were out there before the parades. Yes, Hollywood Studios used to have parades. She got a hold of one of the jump ropes that they had brought out for kids to play with, thought it would be fun, and actually tried to jump rope. Except that she missed and stepped on the rope as she pulled it, and just went and did a face plant right next to me. Oh my goodness! You okay? They thought it was part of the show, so everybody's laughing, and I'm realizing it's not, because I've seen her, and she's possibly hurt a bit. Kind of helped her get up, and she went off backstage. I don't think she was hurt too badly. She was back out later, but oh my goodness, that was a scary moment where you're trying to figure out, okay, do I need to help her and give first aid? How badly is she hurt? And I think she had scraped her hands and really wasn't hurt too bad, but still, scary moment. The big fear at that point is, what happens if she starts bleeding on stage in front of everybody? Or if she's seriously hurt or broken her nose or something like that. Thankfully, that one wasn't that bad. But I did see another one of my photographers get hurt by a guest, in fact. You've probably seen those toy extendable lightsabers, and kids would like to come in with those sometimes. Kids were the ones that could come in with toys, and this little boy was walking into the park. We're out there lined up taking our pictures of guests. It was at a time that we weren't as busy with guests. We didn't have the line, so we had a lot more time to interact. And this kid's here waving the lightsaber around, trying to be a cool Jedi. And so I kind of jumped around, danced around a little bit like, hey, don't hit me, don't get me, which he thought was absolutely great. So much so that he carried on with the next photographer up the street. Except Tyler wasn't playing that way, and so when Kid swings lightsaber, Tyler isn't really moving, and Kid whacks him in the knee. Hard. And leaves this big old bruise. I mean, he's out there, and had to walk off stage. Showed me his knee later, and there's this big old bruise. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, this is why you play. Because it keeps you safer than if you just stand there. Yeah, it whacked him good. One of the most notable ones that we had wasn't actually me either. One of our photographers actually managed to be the only one I know of who ever got a reprimand and a compliment at the same time. How? Well, he actually had been out working at the Castle Hub. I'll call him Kyle. That's not his real name. But he was out working around the Castle Hub area and noticed a commotion over by one of the fences that led to one of the lawns that went down to the moat, and walked over to find out what was happening. And the guests are talking about this kid that had gone in the water, gone over the fence, rolled down the little hill there, and fallen in the moat. Kyle did what any of us would probably do and immediately took action, went over the fence, and went to go find this child that was in the moat. Awesome thing to do. Really, if you saw what that moat's like sometimes, not necessarily the safest thing in the world, but he's out to help this child and rescue it. That's why he got the compliment. However, in doing so, he went in with all his camera gear, or at least some of it. So all this electronic gear went into the moat with him and got ruined and destroyed, and thus the reprimand. Kyle did an amazing thing, out of the ordinary, something you hope that never has to happen, and gets both rewarded and dinged at the same point. Oh, and the kid? There was no kid. Nobody in the water. Never did find out what exactly happened with that. Of course, Silver Dollar City, we had our moments and issues and problems as well. I get asked a bunch, well, did the pull cord ever get pulled? Because we made this announcement on the train.
We have an orange pull cord on the roof of their car. Do not pull that except for a medical emergency. If that cord is pulled, we shall have security and EMTs dispatched to come get us. The engineer will stop the train and we will be down for a very long time.
Yes, it did get pulled. In fact, the most common place it got pulled was in the train station, right after we said again, don't pull the pull cord. And you'd have these smart alecks going, yeah, don't pull the pull cord, let's see what really happens. And we'd stop the train if we'd started moving, or just froze and had to call safety down and had to call security down. And we had a couple guys we removed people from the train. Most of the time we just kind of yelled at them and embarrassed them and showed them what a goofball they were. The worst one was actually a young kid. I think he was like 10, 11, 12, and his dad had been prodding him to pull the pull cord, and they just didn't think it was serious, and so the kid pulled the pull cord, and then we had all this. And needless to say, poor child was very, very embarrassed and humiliated, and immediately wanted off the train before we started again because of the big ruckus that happens when you pull the pull cord. I did see him later and was trying to say, hey, it's okay, and he didn't want to come anywhere near the train. I have a bad feeling this poor kid's scarred for life because of his dad telling him to pull the pull cord. Good job, Dad. Yes, we had it happen at the show a couple times. I had one time that it got pulled as we were coming into the tunnel out there. I never actually had a medical emergency as the reason the cord was pulled. Never did. A couple of my other friends working did, but I didn't. They were just people that thought it would be funny. It ain't funny. The other thing that I had a talent for was falling. And my family is probably not going to be surprised at this one. In fact, we've got a guest here. You may know Laurel, and she's over there snickering already. I have a talent for finding ways to fall. In fact, I was so good at falling that back when I was in college, I actually learned how to fall on purpose because it was safer that way. But during the robberies, I fell a bunch. We had the one spot where the conductor is chasing the robber up the hill, and I had a couple times as that robber, I did a full face plant, slipped and just plow right up the hill. And then, of course, you're trying to finish the robbery show with wood splinters in your hands, and maybe I had one that stuck in my forehead. That was just... oh, look what I found, Alfie! Yeah, Alfie didn't want that for some reason. I don't know why. And then those steps that we had that we would go down and come up again when we were actually doing the robbing, those things, if there was a little bit of moisture, got slick, and you had to be really careful. And of course, I'm not real careful on steps, so again, I had a couple times come up the steps real quick and plant, which... that wasn't quite so bad. There weren't wood chips as much on the steps, although sometimes, but yeah, again, plucking out the wood chips. The worst one was when I went down the steps one time, and they were just a little slick, and my feet went out from under me, and I did the classic cartoon, feet out, fall straight down, land on your rump. That one hurt. And the guy doing the other robber was like, are you okay? I will be in a minute. Ow. And of course, everybody on the train knows the robbers are dumb and bumbling, and they all think it's hilarious because it's part of the act. It wasn't part of the act. It hurt. I walked around kind of funny the rest of that day. But of course, even when you get hurt, the show must go on. And that actually kind of wraps up my last story here with Donald Duck in Mexico. We were working at Epcot in the Mexico Pavilion, and Donald has this spot that the sun shines right down on him, and it was a hot Florida day, no thunderstorms, the sun's beating down on him, and Donald, you would think as a duck, would know better. But Donald hadn't been having enough water. And this is why I tell people, if you're going to be in the parks in summer, drink water, even more water. Donald hadn't had enough water. And as Donald is meeting guests, he'd just come out to meet them, had been out there for like 2 families. And then Donald gives us a signal that basically says, I'm in trouble. I need help. And we realize there's something not right. We get up to Donald, hold the guests off. Are you okay? And Donald's going, backstage now. So we get Donald back, and Donald got himself heat stroke and was actually losing his lunch while with the guests. Yeah. Actually, I think we got him backstage in time first, but it was not pretty. Donald got himself not just an early release that day, but Donald got to have a ride out of work that day in the back of another vehicle because he was not doing well. That one kind of made things a little awkward because we had to change things around a little bit and work some change in positions and shifts and other things. And of course, you got to go tell the guests, hey guys, I'm sorry, Donald's not going to be out for at least a little while. We're going to work on getting him back a little bit later. And then, of course, you're worried actually about Donald being sick and everything. And that was just a real fun day. He did get back later. He was doing fine. We did check on him. But folks, drink your water and take care of yourself in the heat, and it'll at least help you to not have things go wrong at the parks. So if you had issues like that, have you seen issues where things didn't quite go right? I would love to hear them. Share them in the comments below. Thanks so much for liking the video, for subscribing if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit that share button too. Thank you so much to my financial supporters, my patrons, my YouTube members. Their support is wonderful and helps make this possible, as well as the footage you've seen and so much more. If you want to know about the perks that come with being a member, check the description below. There's all sorts of them. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. What happens with... Okay, that's not how I want to go. A very simple example... This is why I'm getting tongue-tied, because I'm just jumping in. Okay. Chip and Dale, for example, are... I've got this line written out here, and I can't even say it. I can do it. So, and of course, everybody had seen. They thought it was part of the shoe. Part of the shoe? Yeah, I guess it was part of the shoe. That's what caught it. It was a guy that I'll call Kyle. That's not his real name, and you'll understand why I don't use his real name. Kyle was taking pictures at Magic Kingdom, and so Kid immediately takes action to his credit, does an incredible thing, but at the same time as he got that compliment, also managed to get a reprimand at the exact same thing, and I just said his real name. Okay, let me try doing that whole story again. I get asked, I never actually had a medical emergency have the... Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know about contact information, fan pages, merchandise, and more, please be sure to check the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know when I have new ones, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button right up there. And if you want to see another one of my videos, well, I've got a great one for you right here. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people here who support me on Patreon and with YouTube memberships. They get behind-the-scenes information, special perks, and more. If you'd like to know more about that, well, make sure you check that button right there. Thank you so much.